We have seen that Savitri has to make a choice either to rise to felicity by abandoning mankind, its frustrated dreams and hopes of perfection, or live here, continue to live here on earth, but Satyavan is somewhere in heaven. All that the god of death assures is that love between them will be immortal and they won't miss each other because they will feel the undying love in their hearts. Neither of these, in fact, is acceptable to Savitri. Particularly the solution that she should abandon the world and rise to felicity so that she and Satyavan can live together in the same world, forever immersed in everlasting happiness. This is what Savitri has to say in reply, page 685, last 3 lines. I climb not to thy everlasting day, even as have shunned thy eternal night. I don't want to climb to your everlasting day and this paradise that you are going to offer me. Just as I have shunned, I rejected your everlasting night. To me who turn not from thy terrestrial way, give back the other self, my nature asks. Thy spaces need him not to help their joy. Earth needs his beautiful spirit made by thee to fling delight down like a net of gold. Earth is the chosen place of mightiest souls. Earth is the heroic spirit's battlefield. The forge where the archmason shapes his works. Thy servitudes on earth are greater, King, than all the glorious liberties of heaven. Those who have always been saying that spirituality is an escape from earth should realize that the spirituality Sri Aurobindo talks about is not this tired spirituality. It's a new kind of spirituality which refuses its claim either on earth or on heaven. She is not willing to abandon either. She says, I reject the proposition, it's either or. For me, it is not either or. And therefore she says, earth needs his beautiful spirit made by thee. Then says, thy servitudes on earth are greater, King, than all the glorious liberties of heaven. Why should I come to heaven? Why should Satyavan go to heaven? Because that's the place where we came from. I know it's a paradise where there is no imperfection, where there is no death, where one doesn't have to pay taxes, where there is no power cut in summer, where there is no garbage to be thrown around. Everything is perfect. But what is new for me there? I have come from that place. You are simply showing my own house. That's where we all came from. So giving back my own house, you are pretending as if you are giving a great turn. You are obliging me. She says, I know what it is. The heavens were once to me my natural home. I too have wandered in star-jeweled groves, paced sun-gold pastures and moon-silver swords, and heard the harping laughter of their streams, and lingered under branches dropping myrrh. I too have reveled in the fields of light, touched by the ethereal raiment of the winds. Thy wandered rounds of music I have trod. I have seen your Disneyland. I have seen your Fifth Avenue. I have seen your Florida beaches. I have seen all these. What is it? You're as if you are giving me, something that I don't know yet. Lived in the rhyme-bright, unlaboring thoughts. I have beat swift harmonies of rapture vast, danced in spontaneous measures of the soul, the great and easy dances of the gods. The dances that gods dance are easy. Great and easy dances of the gods. Oh, fragrant are the lanes thy children walk. I know. The lanes in which your children walk are fragrant, and lovely is the memory of their feet amid the wonder flowers of paradise. A heavier tread is mine, a mightier touch. There, where the gods and demons battle in night, or wrestle on the borders of the sun, taught by the sweetness and the pain of life, to bear the uneven, strenuous beat that throbs against the edge of some divinest hope, to dare the impossible with these pangs of search. In me, the spirit of immortal love stretches its arms out to embrace mankind. Too far thy heavens from me, from suffering men. Imperfect is the joy not shared by all. I don't want a heaven. Too far thy heavens for me. Why? Because they are too far from suffering men. Imperfect is the joy not shared by all. There cannot be a more basic misunderstanding of Sri Aurobindo's agenda. This is not a place or a program of escape from the world. All those people who wanted to build an ideal society, all those people who want to make sure that every human being here on earth gets 2 meals, has a shelter over his head, has his basic health care taken care of, want to make sure that his children have elementary education. They have tried and failed because they went about it the wrong way. Sri Aurobindo wants to achieve those objectives, but the way is different. As I said the other day, you need to build the superstructure of matter, material perfection, on a spiritual foundation. What is the point in building a spiritual superstructure on a spiritual foundation? That is ignoring the demands of matter, ignoring the very conditions in which God chose to manifest himself. So he too wants to build a material world here, a material world of perfection, but on spiritual foundation. The West has tried very, very hard to build a world of material perfection on material foundation. That also is not possible. So here, therefore, is a new agenda for man, and those, therefore, who didn't understand what Sri Aurobindo was doing for 40 years and complained Oh, when Mahatma Gandhi started the non-cooperation movement, we expected Sri Aurobindo would come and enlist as a Swayam Sevak. We were all disappointed that he didn't come. What do they know of his vision, his program, of his great work? I very often talk about the failed experiment called Communism in Russia. What about the enterprise called freedom for this country? What have we done with the freedom? We have raised here a Raj of gundas and corruption. Sri Aurobindo feared just that. He said, this is what is going to happen to India in the first stage. So freedom by itself doesn't open any gates to heaven. Freedom is one enterprise, communism was another enterprise, democracy is a third enterprise. All these enterprises have failed. The degree of failure may be different, but they all failed. And all human enterprises are going to fail until man chooses to build this house of perfection on spiritual foundation. How to build it on spiritual foundation? The secret for it, the world didn't have until now. The glue that makes the worldly, material world stick to spiritual foundation, that was not available until now. Our Vedic forefathers talked about a possibility, but they themselves were not aware of how exactly to do it. Sri Aurobindo discovered it. It is possible to build this. And therefore, whoever says that spirituality is escapism, spirituality is not caring enough for this world, you can immediately conclude he is somebody who has not understood Sri Aurobindo. And let me assure you, this is not a minority, this is the vast majority of our own countrymen. You will find them in the parliament, you will find them in the universities, you will find them in corporations, you will find them in all positions of power. When that changes, this country's destiny also is going to be changed. Until then, you go on having as many fire plants, as many panchayat raj as you can. The old fiasco will keep continually repeated. That has to change. This is Savitri's firm conviction that she will not compromise. And therefore he says, too far the heavens for me from suffering men. Imperfect is the joy not shared by all. Ignore the message, concentrate on the poetry. It's fabulous poetry here. On page 687, O King Smith, clang on still thy toil begun. Weld us to one in thy strong smithy of life. Thy fine curved jeweled hilt called Savitri. Thy blade's exultant smile named Satyavan. Satyavan and Savitri together is this triumphant sword. It's one sword, handle and the blade. And how can you separate the handle from the blade and still hope to be able to use the sword? Fashion to beauty, point us through the world. Break not the lyre before the song is found. Are there not still unnumbered chants to weave? O subtle-souled musician of the years, play out what thou hast fluted on my stops. Arise from the stream their first wild plain divined, and that discover which is yet unsung. I know that I can lift man's soul to God. I know that he can bring the immortal down. Satyavan can bring the immortal down, but I can lift man's soul. Our will labors permitted by thy will, and without thee an empty roar of storm, a senseless whirlwind is the Titan's force, and without thee a snare, the strength of gods. Let not the inconscient gulf swallow man's race. that through earth's ignorance struggles towards thy light. O thunderer with the lightnings of the soul, give not to darkness and to death thy sun. Achieve thy wisdom's hidden firm decree and the mandate of thy secret worldwide love. The God of death, now transformed into God of love, still is unwilling to give up. You must give him full marks. He is like a very, very tough examiner God has appointed. One spelling mistake failed the candidate. These days he says 30% is a pass mark. If 30% of your articles are correct and 70% are wrong, what kind of English are you writing? If 30% your tense concord is right and 70% is wrong, what kind of English are you writing? If 30% of your spellings are right and 70% are wrong, what kind of English are you writing? This God of death wants to make absolutely sure there is no mistake left. So he still goes on. And 6, 8, 9. This is the last question, the most difficult question, and a real question. All of us want to help the world. We want to change the world. Several saints, avatars, babas, mahatmas, bhagawans, all have been at this enterprise. But why come the world is not saved? Because have you really asked the world this basic question? What is the question? Do you want to be saved? The world says, no, thank you. This is what I have been saying. Heaven's light has come in several ways. Several people brought it. Great, huge hurricane lamps, torches. How many people wanted to benefit from them? In 1972, Sri Aurobindo's birth centenary, we were all getting excited. Sri Aurobindo's birth centenary, great event. I expected some commotion, at least in Madras station somewhere. Oh, Sri Aurobindo, we are coming to Pondicherry, where Sri Aurobindo lived for so long, did this wonderful work. The world is going to be transformed. Nobody knew anything about Pondicherry or Sri Aurobindo in Madras. Getting closer and closer to Pondicherry, we expected some bunting, some declaration, some excitement in the air. Nobody knew anything about it until we came to the ashram gate. Do you think the world takes note of people like Sri Aurobindo? He knew this. So his work was not establishing the ashram, his work was not writing the life divine, his work was not writing Savitri. His work was actually building this bridge of what he called the supramental consciousness. Building it in himself, making sure earth has access to this new power, and then only he left. And once that power comes, man will not be able to reject divine's grace. Even the capacity to accept, recognize grace as grace is wanting in man. Something profoundly wrong here, the earth consciousness. That is why the descent of avatars has been of very little consequence. This has to change. Something has to be done to the existential condition of man. Something basic has to be changed in man. And that's why the God of death asks the last question, page 689. A few can climb to an unperishing sun or live on the edges of the mystic moon and channel to earth mind the wizard ray. the heroes and the demigods are few, to whom the close immortal voices speak, and to their acts the heavenly clans are near. Few are the silences in which truth is heard, unveiling the timeless utterance in her deeps. Few are the splendid moments of the seers. Heaven's call is rare, rarer the heart that heeds. Heaven's call is rare, even rarer is the heart that heeds, that responds to this heaven's call. The doors of light are sealed to common mind. And earth needs nailed to earth the human mass. Only in an uplifting hour of stress, men answer to the touch of greater things. Or raised by some strong hand to breathe heaven air, they slide back to the mud from which they climbed. In the mud of which they are made, whose law they know, they joy in safe return to a friendly base. We are all made of mud. We like to wallow in mud forever and ever. That's what we have chosen. Ignorance is the base, and we would like to wallow in ignorance. At times come when suddenly there is a great uplifting kind of movement, like the freedom struggle in this country. The country threw up great heroes, people who were willing to give their lives for the country, careers for their country. That time disappeared. Where are the hero warriors left in this country of ours? All pygmies, all little politicians. This is the normal level of man. What we found during the freedom struggle, that was exceptional moment. There was an upsurge. So God of Death is saying, don't be misled by these upsurges. They vanish. The human being again sinks back to the level of the mud and is quite happy in mud. So why do you want to waste your time, energy, effort trying to save mankind? They slide back to the mud from which they climbed, in the mud of which they are made, whose law they know. They joy in safe return to a friendly base. And though something in them weeps for glory lost and greatness murdered, they accept their fall. To be the common man, they think the best. To live as others live is their delight, for most are built on nature's early plan and owe small debt to a superior plane. The human average is their level pitch, a thinking animal's material range. This is what great thinkers like Arthur Koestler concluded, that man is a flawed creature. And he predicted man is bound to destroy himself. Why? Because the reasons he gave, man's brain has, as it were, 3 compartments to it. The topmost compartment is the neocortex, where Einstein functions. All abstract mathematics, computers, relativity theory, quantum physics, all these things belong to that world, the great world of science. Then there is a second level of human mind, which has remained unrefined, which has remained the same as the brain of a horse. And there is still another level, the bottom level, the old brain, where man has the same propensities as a crocodile. So man harbors in himself a crocodile and a horse and Einstein. Give him the toughest problem in mathematics, he will solve it like Einstein. And when he goes home, and the wife complains that she had a tiff with the neighbor's wife, it is the horse that takes over or the crocodile in man. This is what has happened. That is why science hasn't helped man, philosophy hasn't helped man. Man continues as it is. And since this is a flaw in the evolutionary development of the brain, you cannot undo what evolution has done. Then what is the solution? Scientists have said maybe something like aspirin can be discovered, so the balance will be a little bit. Sometimes when you have the crocodile attack or the horse attack, pop up a tablet and the balance will be equated. Sri Aurobindo also recognizes this in other terms, in other ways. Therefore, he says, the inadequacies of the mind and the inadequacies of the vital being, they have to be transformed. And that transforming power is not with the mind. A higher power, a greater power can alone do it. What's that power? The power which he recognized as the power of the supramental consciousness. Only when that comes, there won't be any lacunas, any blemishes you can blame on evolution. Evolution hasn't blundered. We have stopped before our destination. That's the problem. And so, God of Death is explaining to him, men are happy with their own limited range. What is the solution? Well, page 692. Before that, a few lines where once again the God of Death, he has one refrain. Since all this enterprise is useless, he says to Savitri on page 692, grow one with the still passion of the depths, then shalt thou know the lover and the loved, leaving the limits dividing him and thee. Receive him into boundless Savitri, lose thyself into infinite Satyavan. O miracle, where thou beganst, there cease. Where thou began, you began as a spirit, and you end as a spirit. Where there is Satyavan, there is Savitri, everything spiritually, all will be present there. Do not try to change the world, change this earth. That's impossible. And Savitri briefly says on page 692, in vain thou temptst with solitary bliss. Two spirits saved out of a suffering world, my soul and his indissolubly linked in the one task for which our lives were born, to raise the world to God in deathless light, to bring God down to the world on earth we came, to change the earthly life to life divine. That's why we have come here. I keep my will to save the world and man. Even the charm of the alluring voice, O blissful Godhead, cannot seize and snare. And he declares, you see, in the good old days, in the Mahabharata, they say, when Bhishma made that big pratijna, gods took note. Flowers were rained, flowers fell down. There is this occult meaning behind it. The spaces are not inconscient. So, any great movement like this is absorbed by the spaces. The spaces are strengthened by that. When Sri Aurobindo wrote these lines, I'm sure the spaces absorbed the spirit of hope and strength, and man's future was changed. Man's future was guaranteed when he says, I sacrifice not earth to happier worlds. I am not willing to sacrifice earth for any happy world, because there dwelt the Eternal's vast idea and his dynamic will in men and things. So only could the enormous scene begin. Whence came this profitless wilderness of stars? this mighty barren wheeling of the suns, who made the soul of futile life in time, planted a purpose and a hope in the heart, set nature to a huge and meaningless task, or planned her million eon efforts waste. Goes on, page 693, 2 lines. Since God has made earth, earth must make in her God. Since God has made the earth, it is incumbent on man to manifest the God in him. What hides within his breast she must reveal. I claim thee for the world that thou hast made. If man lives bound by his humanity, if ultimately man decides to remain within the confines of his humanity, nature will push aside man and will bring here another species which will carry forward this unfinished plan. If man lives bound by his humanity, if he is tied forever to his pain, let a greater being then arise from man. The superhuman with the eternal mate, and the immortal shine through earthly forms. Else were creation vain, and this great world and nothing that in time's moment seems to be. If this fulfillment were not to come, this entire enterprise, this entire creation would have to be declared something of a vanity, something absolutely vain. But I have seen through the insentient mask, I have felt a secret spirit stir in things, carrying the body of the growing God. It looks through veiling forms at veilless truth. It pushes back the curtain of the gods. It climbs towards its own eternity. Well, when at the end of all these, the god of death, or now become the god of new god, is unable to dissuade Savitri, he disappears. All that is now left is a voice. And this voice too asks Savitri to choose 4 times, each time with a little bait in it. But all the 4 times, Savitri chooses, or on page 696. First time, when the spirit, the voice asks her to choose, what does she choose? Thy peace, O Lord, a boon within to keep amid the roar and ruin of wild time. For the magnificent soul of man on earth, thy calm, O Lord, that bears thy hands of joy. I want the peace of the timeless. For whom? For the magnificent soul of man on earth. A second time again, the voice says, choose. What does Savitri choose? Page 697. Thy oneness, Lord, in many approaching hearts, my sweet infinity of thy numberless souls. Once again says choose. And what does Savitri choose? Thy energy, Lord, to seize on woman and man, to take all things and creatures in their grief and gather them into a mother's arms. Finally, she wants God's peace, she wants God's oneness, she wants God's energy, and finally she wants God's love. For whom? Thy embrace which rends the living knot of pain, thy joy, O Lord, in which all creatures breathe, thy magic flowing waters of deep love, thy sweetness give to me for earth and men. One thing she always asks, thy peace, thy oneness, thy energy, thy love for the earth and for man. Once this is done, Savitri's job is more or less finished. And then, like a satisfied examiner, the Lord says, Savitri, I am quite happy you have come through this test very brilliantly. And so, 698, O beautiful body of the incarnate word, thy thoughts are mine, I have spoken with thy voice. My will is thine, what thou hast chosen, I choose. All thou hast asked, I give to earth and men. All shall be written out in destiny's book by my trustee of thought and plan and act, the executor of my will, eternal time. A few lines down. Because thou hast chosen to share earth's struggle and fate, and leaned in pity over earthbound men, and turned aside to help and yearn to save, I bind by thy heart's passion thy heart to mine, and lay my splendid yoke upon thy soul. Now will I do in thee my marvelous works. I will fasten thy nature with my cords of strength, subdue to my delight thy spirit's limbs, and make thee a vivid knot of all my bliss, and build in thee my proud and crystal home. Thy days shall be my shafts of power and light, thy nights my starry mysteries of joy, and all my clouds lie tangled in thy hair, and all my springtides marry in thy mouth. O sun word, thou shalt raise the earth soul to light, and bring down God into the lives of men. Earth shall be my work chamber and my house, my garden of life to plant a seed divine. When all thy work in human time is done, the mind of earth shall be a home of light, the life of earth a tree growing towards heaven, the body of earth a tabernacle of God. Page 701, it's the part of the same. Last few lines. I will pour delight from thee as from a jar. I will whirl thee as my chariot through the ways. I will use thee as my sword and as my lyre. I will play on thee my minstrelsies of thought. And when thou art vibrant with all ecstasy, and when thou livest one spirit with all things, then will I spare thee not my living fires, but make thee a channel for my timeless force. (702) Descend to life with him my thy heart desires, O Satyavan, O luminous Savitri. I sent you forth of old beneath the stars, a dual power of God in an ignorant world. That this is a passage we read the second day, end of that page, 702. Who is Satyavan? He is my soul that climbs from nascent night through life and mind and supernature's vast to the supernal light of timelessness, and my eternity hid in moving time, and my boundlessness cut by the curve of space. And who is Savitri? O Savitri, thou art my spirit's power, the revealing voice of my immortal word, the face of truth upon the roads of time, pointing to the souls of men, the routes to God. This is a part of what I would like to call Mangalacharanam. End of our 11 days. If you get lines like this worth reading, I can go on for another 4 days if the conclusion is all that sweet. on 706, last few lines. All then shall change, a magic order come, overtopping this mechanical universe. A mightier race shall inhabit the mortal's world. On nature's luminous tops, on the spirit's ground, the Superman shall reign as king of life, and make earth almost the mate and peer of heaven, and lead towards God and truth man's ignorant heart, and lift towards Godhead his mortality. Few lines later, he says, all shall be drawn to a single plan. A divine harmony shall be earth's law. Beauty and joy remold her way to live. Even the body shall remember God. A few lines later, all earth shall be the spirit's manifest home, hidden no more by the body and the life, hidden no more by the mind's ignorance. An unerring hand shall shape event and act. The spirit's eyes shall look through nature's eyes. The spirit force shall occupy nature's force. This world shall be God's visible garden house. The earth shall be a field and camp of God. Page 710. A divine force shall flow through tissue and cell, and take the charge of breath and speech and act, and all the thoughts shall be a glow of suns, and every feeling a celestial thrill. Often a lustrous inner dawn shall come, lighting the chambers of the slumbering mind. A sudden bliss shall run through every limb, and nature with a mightier presence fill. Thus shall the earth open to divinity, and common natures feel the wide uplift. Illumine common acts with the Spirit's ray, and meet the deity in common things. Nature shall live to manifest secret God. The Spirit shall take up the human play. This earthly life become the life divine. When the Amrit Kalash was given to gods, they were not more drunk than you and I. Reading these lines, except that there wasn't enough time to read them to ourselves. There are many, many more such lines, and I have run at a tremendous speed. The idea, of course, is to give you some plan behind this great book, so that you read as it should be read, day after day, year after year, life after life, and continue. Nobody has a monopoly on Savitri. It is the soul's book. Very often I tell my friends, I am like somebody who has gone to see the Madurai temple, and I'm so enchanted by the architectural beauty on the sculpture on the wall that I'm standing there describing it to whoever comes, look at this statue, this, that, the other. The chances are I may never get an opportunity to go into the temple myself, stand before the sanctum sanctorum. But my delight is to describe this, draw people's attention to this. Ultimately, you have to get into the sanctum sanctorum, stand before the divine's idol. This is the invitation. So this entire series of talks may be called an invitation to Sri Aurobindo's Savitri.